Thank you, folks. I've never seen anyone get through that without laughing, so that's the way it always happens. Okay, now, assistants, if you will, hand out these as far as they will go. By the way, what was just read is one of the poems in Fish Log. You can check that out if you like. But instead of reading from that or from this chapbook, I'm going to read from this. These are yours to have, compliments of me and Kinko's. And I'm going to read from this because this is what I'm interested in lately. This is what I've been working on in recent months. And I find that if I don't read something that's working on my mind, then it's not that interesting to me and it won't be that interesting to you. So let me take just a second to explain this or explain the procedure. What I did is I took one line and then I wrote a response to that line. So that gave me 2. And then I just double spaced those and I wrote a response to each of those. So that gave me 4 lines. And then I double spaced 4 and I wrote a line here, 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 so that it would all go together. And then I did 8. You can thumb through, you'll see. Then 16, 32, what's next? 64, 128. And the last time me and Dr. Bird read, it was at the Decatur Book Festival, and I read the 256 line version, and it took 10 solid, intense minutes. So now I have the 512 line version, and no, I'm not going to read 20 minutes straight from this. It doesn't exactly lend itself to a public reading. But what I am going to do, oh, by the way, if you turn to the middle where the staple is, there are no page numbers, I understand, but if you turn to the middle where the staples are, and then turn one page, that's where 512 starts, and that's going in there is going to be where I'm reading from. And what I've decided to do is just pick out some lines as if they are poems themselves, not just lines from a larger poem. And they will become poems on their own. So I'm going to read some 3-line ones, 5, 7, 9, and then I'll let you choose a number and I'll read one solid page. Okay. So over here on this side, I'm going to read a 3-line poem. This poem is called, Do You Live in a Compost Bin? Do you live in a compost bin? If so, you're dead. You can't just keep standing there. This poem is called, You Can See the Video. You can see the video I like to watch. The big bugs feed on the little bugs. Mother is the necessity of invention. Mother is the necessity of invention. Pull my finger, not the doodad. And out comes the moon. And out comes the moon. The score is day 6, night 7. It's still anybody's ball game. This poem is called, You Can't Blow Out a Candle Sitting on Your Nose. You can't blow out a candle sitting on your nose. Like unplanted plants on the planet Pluto, it just ain't going to happen. Running while posturing. Running while posturing like a flamingo on one leg. You have to scrawl before you squawk. Hey, everybody loves a good pun, I hope. It's really not that hard to save the world. It's really not that hard to save the world. Whatever you have that can be used for cutting, sharpen it by tonight. This is We in Them Many. We in them many, like an oak leaf falls on an acorn it once knew. Try and hide your family tree. This one I'm going to dedicate to one of the readers, Elizabeth Jordan. This is called Back from After. Back from after, she flies, lights out, Gothic as a bat. You okay with that? Okay. All right. All right, this is, no, I'll do a couple more three-liners. You're going to keep me posted on time too, right? The salt is rough and the water is rocky. The salt is rough and the water is rocky. Have you ever seen fish pee? Hardly a recipe for life expectancy. This is one I think about every morning when I wake up. It's called Inside Me I'm Excited. Inside me I'm excited, coffee remains legal. A quivering quail, a quaking quickening. All right, last three-liner is titled, I Keep Forgetting. I keep forgetting you're not the boss of me, and why? It's not enough we're happy, others must be made miserable. Okay, a couple five-liners. A fever is a cold sweat warming. Oh, I guess you saw too, the title of this is A Fever is a Warning. So this poem, a fever is a cold sweat warming. It revives anything, beast of the east, best of the west, mouth of the south, and so forth of the north. Made famous at the Pain Museum, that fine line between conscious and crying. This is called Even Out by the Old Truly Place. Even out by the old Truly Place, toy satellites orbit an ant farm. Like bobbleheads on a dashboard, pinpoint the illusion that there is no illusionist, just apocalyptic scooterist. He done gone and got hisself a hankering. He done gone and got hisself a hankering. A carny call. Be accused. Be amused. Whatever. Come home. The eggs are breaking. I've never felt so much alike. This is called I Was the Driver of the Other Tractor. I was the driver of the other tractor, and just to confirm the information we have in our records, at any time did your face leave your body? That is your face, right? Has anything happened since? All right, a couple seven-liners. This one is called I Lost My Temper and Couldn't Find It Anywhere. I lost my temper and couldn't find it anywhere. Probably that splash we heard. It was winked as just another garden accident, and so they canceled my thing, but, quote unquote, bless this mess, though past the eat-by date. This is called To Play the Poem, Press Play the Poem. To play the poem, press play the poem, with an apology and restitution to the baby hawklets. Neurosis is a neurosis is a neurosis. My eye tick for your ear tug. It's like we're stuck in different traffic together. And as your friend, I must say, your lips chap my britches like a raft on a dry river. This is called Through a Fog of Disrememberment. Through a fog of disrememberment, I remember that sky that night. The house got gone and Champ got dead. Our summer lying on the ground in fragments. Lividity suggests death is not the cause. Something moving underneath. Not quite hope, just less. All right, let's do a nine-liner. Which includes a 3 and a 5 that I've already read. This one is called A Fever is a Cold Sweat Warming. A fever is a cold sweat warming. It revives anything, beast of the east, best of the west, mouth of the south, and so forth of the north. Made famous at the Pain Museum, that fine line between conscious and crying. You can see the video. I like to watch. The big bugs feed on the little bugs. Fortunes for the fortunate. This one is called Come Home, the Eggs Are Breaking. Come home, the eggs are breaking. I've never felt so much alike. I can smell the beach, or at least tilapia frying. Somebody call somebody. This could be love. In my brain, your heart is full of me. A union job. 2 kinds of one or 1 kind of 2. Either way, something's humming. All right. So in 512 now, I have up to 11 pages. And somebody choose a number, including 1 or 11 or in between there. 6. Okay, I'll read page 6. If you want to read along, it begins, Confessions of Sleeping with Peep-Toe Pumps. Anybody know what a peep-toe pump is? Ladies? Somebody describe a peep-toe pump.
It's a shoe that has a hole in the front where your toes come out.
Uh-huh, okay. All right, so this poem is called Confessions of Sleeping with Peep-Toe Pumps. Confessions of sleeping with peep-toe pumps behind man-made polka dots. The armadillo seems embarrassed even for an armadillo. She is, or she is eating, a pale, green-dappled, mildewed turnip. Her golden locks pulled back in pigtails, she's blowing out her taper. Hysteria, puff up, counter-hysteria, lesson learnt. You can't blow out a candle sitting on your nose. Like unplanted plants on the planet Pluto, it just ain't going to happen. The edge of the thin is missing. I lost my temper and couldn't find it anywhere. Probably that splash we heard. It was winked as just another garden accident. And so they canceled my thing, but, quote unquote, bless this mess. Though past the eat-by date, I can still curl my tail, running while posturing like a flamingo on one leg. You have to scrawl before you squawk. Wait a minute. A month, a mile. I feel a dream state coming on. Maybe we should camp here tonight and try again in the morning. I wouldn't mind sleeping sitting on the fence. Is this vineyard terraced or bunkered? Did you come to the picnic just to shoot our sandwiches? Is this not an olive root? Quick, commingle the funds. Was that the gov or the I? What who? Intertwined, safely entertained. You're either a complaint or a do something else. Girding up the vegetative in me, I've had about enough. Want more. I've been invited to the morning entrails reading. The florist recommends the buttercups, downgrading natural death to a little off. Problem people problematize. Her mulberries said can't. The dots were mistaken for ravens, making snow angels in the sand, drinking the sky. A birdcatcher walks into a cage. How am I doing on time? Okay, very good. Then I will read a couple things from, let's see, I think I want to read from my chapbook. I had a lot of fun writing this. It took me probably 6-8 months to write it. And it's called Delusiveness. Anybody want to try a definition of delusiveness? D instead of E?
Elusive.
Oh.
De-elusive.
De-elusive? No, not exactly de-elusive. I don't know. I do like to keep the meanings open in my writing. Obviously, by what I did here, by running all of the lines together, I mean, there's no way there are no stanza breaks. So your mind has to do something with it. You have to stop and start somewhere. So this text really puts a lot of the work on the reader. So if you wanted to say de-elusiveness, that's fine with me. I'm more than willing for all my writing to be open to different interpretations. There's definitely not just one way of, well, hopefully not just one way of reading it. To me, delusiveness just means craziness. I'm going to read the last one, and it's called Delusiveness Last. And by the way, it's written, it has no punctuation, so there's no periods or commas or anything. So I just have to stop it, pause it the best I can. I have gaps in my whats. I learned ignorance. I cry little bits. I said, come here, food, and jump in my mouth hole. I'm serious. I do declare. I see my satisfactory is not your satisfying. I, like the inevitable, am inevitable. I like egad, but it's not a word, but aged is. I molt. I piss me off. I'm not James. I am just one of those things. I fish. I fish, man. I want to know, are you going to eat that? I elude. I let do, let dog. I banal. I care deeply. I heart mules. I yes, 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 yes. No, wait. Are you saying morality or mortality? I then went like whatever. I know a long time ago, prawny, shrimpy things crawled onto mud and had tiny little randies. I put the F in frump. I had a burning sensation, and it was sensational. I saw ponchos. I did something. I ran over to the puke zone. I called and called you. I was not impressed. I verb my nouns. I can explain. I drink from a bottle. I can't help things. I can't pronounce... How do you pronounce that? What? Oh, you can't say it without a glasses. Okay. Something like portmanteau. Portmanteau? There we go. That's how you pronounce it. I donkey, rat, muffin, wrench, hickory you. I just don't feel like it right now. I'm going back to college in my sleep. I take Larry with me. Ergo, I'm mere a vessel merely. I smell relentless. I can't keep up. I get mine from you, which is sad because you ain't got one to give. I blunder. I just wrote outside thee. I have no friends and they don't seem to mind. I like my wheels spoke. I am speaking meat. I geez Louise. I can't get enough. Apparently. I splash down. I dance like claymation. I heard a joke about a goat. I was unconscious. I electrified the fence. I and got my dress wet. I feign. I faint. I sing. I sadly, slowly winking. I was fake happy. I fear red, so sat in a blue chair. I tell everyone all about me. It seems the less I hide, the less you know. I, yes, am gaining weight. I'd rather not talk about it. Did I say this? Like fish. Okay. And yes, I am obsessed with fish. Maybe it's because I'm Pisces. Chamel. Okay. For some reason, many of teenagers at high school like this poem. It's called Butterfish. It's the first poem in here. Butterfish. I dream the dream of the non-dreamer who dreams the undreamable dream. I dream of cream. I dream of cream and the uncreamable cream. I dream the dream cream, the creamy dream. The dream cream spreads and creams itself over periwinkles and sassafras and azure jeeps. Like a dream, the dream cream sprouts, and the sprouts are soy, creamy soy. Soy is the dream bean. It makes me dream creamy soy dreams. I dream smooth as cream in a dreamy land of lakes where dreamy fillets swim and dream of lemony batter. I'll do another one out of here. It's called Firefish. It's 11:32 p.m., May 3rd. Some of the animals have left the bucket. Others are still in the cinch bag, twist-tied. Birds gravitate or levitate, depending on what the context calls for, though the seaweed recipients won't quit the nest. I think I know how to bait the ejecta. Tastes like tryptophan. Dead butterflies in the stomach. Snails aren't fat, just short-trunked. But there's something perverse chewing gum on every corner. Never mind the jokes about slime. At approximately 10:03 tomorrow morning, I'll need a half head of memory and enough firefish to ride my bike by. The land animals rejoin the fluids, and what the hay. He had trachea breath and smoke out the ears. She had rocks in her crust, he claimed, but whatever. We watched a big old hybrid swim down from Dayton, then got to work on the underwater vines. The egg seeds were approved and nothing else in the world. I'm taking a sip of water. Okay. One more. I'm going to read The Water Spotter. Oh, by the way, I should say all of the artwork in this book was done by friends, poets, and artists of mine here in Atlanta. I want to give them credit too. Turned out to be a great book. I love the cover, the way the publisher did the cover, so I'm very happy with it. This is called The Water Spotter is in the Bedroom Again. The water spotter is in the bedroom again, while night sprinklers are watering a water spotter lake of dew. The water spotter speaks of rain and drainage, and no, I won't bite the moon. Where does the moon go? The moon goes where the moon goes. The change has come. My bedroom can't get there from here, and neither can yours. Everyone's at the puppet party asking questions. They can't see the water, the rising, the moon, and its coming. We're a bad pair and a worse trio. Night spiders riding sprinkler rodeo as empty as the empty lake. The water spotter webs up to you and says, "Control me." Of course it's wet. I'm a water spotter. The string moves, and so does your finger and leg number 7. One way is the perfect way, the way a water spotter measures your vibe. Notice, the lake is dark, the moon is gone. There's a message from the fish. The water's too hot. And you're no star, just a sprinkler head in the puppet party version of, well, this is French, I know I'm going to mispronounce this, Oiseau et Poisson. The monkeys ride in on camels, which is supposed to be scary/funny, but to the fish, it's just slash. And we arrive in pods like higher beings we've come to be. It turns out our eyes always jiggle like that, so there's no dream to wake up from, and no go in our coming. Only red crescents from bumping and scraping the moon in dark water, warm water with film for spiders to walk across, and no birds. Okay. Questions, comments, snide remarks? Yes? I'm sorry, say again? No. I think, is this right? You said the way that I write, do I have a form, a name for the form? Is that right? And the answer is no. No, I hardly ever use the same form twice. Really, the way I think about it is more in terms of methods or procedures than forms. You know, I give myself limits, or I give myself restraints or a particular method, and I stick to that, unless I don't feel like sticking to that. But usually I do. So, does that answer? Okay. Yes. Helena.
Yes. For the multi-voice poem, how did you decide on fish anxiety and Myrtle Beach to put those words in there?
I was trying to think. I wrote this probably 5 years ago. So this is my reconstruction, which may be faulty. But I was trying to come up with 3 very different concepts. And one had to be fish, just because. And a lot of my writing, I try to give it some type of, even though it's often funny, I try to give it some type of anxiety, underlying anxiety in it. And so, you know, duh, I just put the word anxiety. And Myrtle Beach is just, I love the words Myrtle Beach. I love saying Myrtle Beach. There you go. Yes, Jamel. Multi-voice poems. No, I did not originate that. Multi-voice poems have been around for a long time. They're not very popular, and very few people have done them, but at least since maybe the 50s or the 60s, a few crazy, weird experimental poets have been doing multi-voice pieces. And some poets also do multi-voice sound poems, so that they're not necessarily reading from a text, but are just improvising sound that may be linguistically based, but maybe not. However, the group that I was a part of for like 9 or 10 years, the Atlanta Poets Group, for whatever reason, well, this group, we came together every Wednesday night for almost 10 years, and we hardly missed missed a time. And so it really had a hothouse effect. And we were writing collaboratively every night, or every Wednesday night. And so I think organically, maybe is the word, multi-voice pieces just came out of the intensity of all these people working together all the time. And the way that it often happened would be, sometimes we would write it collaboratively, but sometimes just one of us would write a multi-voice piece with maybe others in mind. But sometimes, like I said, we would write it collaboratively. Schmidt. I couldn't hear you.
What inspired you to write that creepy dream?
Creepy dream poem? I don't remember. Although I probably should say that the word inspired doesn't really, it's not the way that I think about it. There's a line in here that says something to the effect, inspiration is a discipline of attention. And that's really how I write. I sit down to write whether I feel like it or not. And like I said, I have these procedures perhaps that I'm using, and that almost takes the place of inspiration. So I don't sit around waiting to be inspired. So maybe I hear something, maybe I hear a conversation between students at school and that sparks something, and I start writing down and see if that fits within my restraint. So it's not necessarily inspiration.
And listening to your poetry, it seems to me like it's a stream of consciousness. When you are writing, basically what's happening, thoughts just coming and you just, there's no connection.
No. Sometimes, let me see if I can get this back on. Sometimes I write and I try, really as part of the procedure or the method, and I try to write as fast as I can without thinking about it too much. I don't do that too often, but even then, I often go back and edit a lot. Sometimes that's a problem. Sometimes I edit too much, and editing just sucks the life out of whatever was there. Sometimes it works well and sometimes not. But for instance, this is very heavily edited. But I hope I'm getting better now with my editing, so that, especially with this method anyway, of just writing without stanza breaks, and the doubling thing. I think it's more, I'm satisfied with it, that even though it's very heavily edited, it's still lively to me, has life to it for me. But I don't think of it as stream of consciousness. Although I did write a poem one time, and I gave myself a time limit, I forget what it was, and I sat at my computer with my eyes closed, and I just typed and without opening my eyes until the buzzer went off. And the only editing I did was to correct the grammar. And that poem turned out pretty well and got published. So, yes?
In our English class, when we read poetry, the teacher makes us try to find out who the persona is. So in this thing here, since you're the actual author, what would you answer if you were in her classes?
I don't know. I don't know how I would answer. I don't know who the persona might be. One of the reasons why I use procedures and methods so much is to get away from that, is to get away from me, to get away from my personality, to get away from inspiration-based things, so that the text becomes an expression of my feelings. But you can't do that. If you write something, it's yours. In some way, it expresses you because you decided to write it. You decided to edit it the way that you edited it. And so in some way, it expresses you. There's lots of things you can do, like, chance procedures, choose every fifth word out of the New York Times or something like that, to move away from personality-driven poetry. But still, you decided to do that. So.
They're not like what you're talking about, like the one that we read in class, like ex-husband. The poet is a man, but he's writing from the persona of a woman.
Right.
So that's what she meant by that.
Right. Yeah, I understand, but even that is a personality-driven thing. Whether it's your personality or your persona's personality, it's a personality-driven poetry, which I try not to do. Although I have written heteronymically before, make up someone. I'll tell you the story. In fact, me and a friend of mine, we made up this person, an artist person, and we made up. Should I tell this? I don't know. We created a false interview as if we were interviewing this Atlanta-based street artist, and it was a lot of fun. And it was like 5 or 6 pages, and we did some artwork to go with it, as if this is what this artist had done, and it was really a lot of fun. We were excited about it, and we sent it off to this nice magazine, and it got published. And it got some popularity, and people were writing us, how can we find this artist? And will you interview him again? I want to put it in my magazine. And we're like, oh, no. So we made up something like, oh, he moved out of town. Well, I don't know where he is anymore. But it was fun while we were doing it, but we really didn't think about the consequences that anybody would ever really care about it, So when people came to us and was really interested in him and our writing, it was just kind of embarrassing. But. Yes?
How do you come up with your methods and procedures?
I steal a lot. I steal my methods and procedures. I steal most of my material. A lot of this comes from bits and pieces of other poetry that I've read, things that I've heard on the radio, bumper stickers that I've read. And hopefully by taking it out of that context, giving it my kind of twist, and putting it in in between 2 other lines to try to make it fit, hopefully I make it mine and not. But I just steal. Yes.
I like a lot, when you're working with forms in particular, and you're not working from inspiration, you're not trying to convey something, oh, this inspired me, and you write about that. Do you find that, because there's this sort of way you're writing isn't, do you find that you get surprised by what you write sometimes and it inspires you, or not, I don't want to say inspires you, but you're like, wow, I wrote that. Where did that come from?
Yes. And if that didn't happen, I don't think I would do it. I mean, that's the satisfying thing about writing to me.
Would you say that's why you use the form, or at least one reason why?
Yes. I think if I tried to write about my grandmother's death or something like that, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I couldn't do it well. I could do it, but I couldn't do it well. It wouldn't be interesting to me. And I think it would be, I know it would be. I mean, I've tried that kind of thing, and it's very labored. There's no surprise in it. But whenever I use a form like this, and I see a bumper sticker, and I give it a little bit of twist, and then I put it between 2 other lines that, I didn't realize it had anything to do with those other images or meanings in those lines. It's like, oh, wow. Now that one line that had a certain meaning on that bumper sticker now has a different meaning because it's in this context and follows this line. So yeah, that's very satisfying to me. And then also kind of continuing with your question and a little bit egomaniacally, even though it's not personality driven, I do get a lot of satisfaction out of this. Like, I just finished this 512 version the other night. I mean, I've been working on this for months, and I finished the 512 version. a few days ago, and I read it, and I was just so happy. It's like, man, this is good. This is exciting. I like this. So. And I can feel that way because I know I didn't really write it. I stole it. So. I'm sorry?
Do you write anything besides poetry?
Very rarely. I don't know why. When I was growing up, I always said I wanted to be a writer, and to me that meant novels and short stories. And I've tried novels and short stories, and I would lose my concentration, or I'd get sick, or I have to go to work or something. But I was never able to finish them. And about 10 years ago, I started writing poetry. And after having zero interest in poetry all through high school and college and stuff, I found a lot of poetry really boring. And then I started finding what's so-called experimental poetry, and it woke me up. And so I only do poetry, really. Before you stand up and dismiss us, I want to give a big thanks to Dr. Bird. It's really, yes. I understand this reading series has really been great and has pumped a lot of life into this room, and that's really great. And thank you for the opportunity very much.